Hey guys, it's me, your lovely host from Rin's Art Cafe. First of all, I want to thank you guys for clicking on this video. I really appreciate you guys for supporting me and supporting this channel and the people who I'm working with. Thank you for this, you guys. For today's topic, I would like to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement, the police brutality, and how all of this technically also affects my home country, Suriname. So I did some research, I linked my resources and all of that stuff in the description so you guys can fact check or learn more about the topics that I'm going to be talking about. And if I happen to make a mistake, all of this stuff is there, so yeah, if I make a mistake, that's all on me. That's my opinion. I'm not stating it as fact, except for the stuff that has been backed up in the links that I'm gonna place in my description, so you guys can check it out. Make sure you guys like this video so my videos and channel get recommended to more people who would love to watch my content. If you haven't already, please subscribe and please share the video. And for more videos and to be notified for when I'm posting a new video, please click the bell so you'll be here on time. And if you guys are commenting on this video, please be respectful in the comment section. You guys can say whatever you want, just be respectful of each other's opinion. And when you're talking, like, even if you're expressing like, hey, I didn't agree with this, like, at least say, hey, I didn't agree with this and this is why, instead of just randomly typing something in the comments. I'm making this video in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. In the description box below, I also linked how you can help support this movement if you're for this movement. I will be going in on this later on in the video, near the end, so if you want to skip to there, you can go ahead. But first, before we begin this video, I would like to add a disclaimer. Please don't send any hate towards the people involved in this video, or the people I'm going to be talking about, or anybody else working on this channel. If you do not like the topics we're about to discuss in this video, or I'm about to discuss in this video actually, you may please click away and watch something else that's more suited to what you're watching. Okay, and when you're in the comment section, please keep it civil and respectful. With that being said, let's get on to the video. 2020, the year we've all been waiting for. The year where all the stuff that has been festering for a very long time finally comes up to the surface. 2020, the wake-up call. A lot has happened around the world these past few months. For health reasons, people had to stay in their homes. Fraud during elections. People have lost their jobs and aren't earning enough to sustain them or their families during these hard times. And if that wasn't enough, they had to sit in their homes while watching and hearing about other people becoming victims of police brutality. Police officers, people who you would expect to keep you and your community safe. People are tired, angry, frustrated, and scared. So they are taking to the streets to protest against this injustice and these issues plaguing everyone today. Which brings us to the topic of this video. To give some context on the situation, a man by the name of George Floyd became a victim of police brutality at the hands of Officer Derek Chauvin and 3 other officers. This incident was caught on camera by a bystander and shared on social media. This sparked outrage, which led to the protests, rioting, and looting. Mr. Floyd's case was merely the breaking point for all of this to happen. Because people were already tired of hearing cases like that of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, and many others who had become victims of police brutality based on suspected racial biases. It was the case of Trayvon Martin that sparked the Black Lives Matter movement and protests, which is still going on today, not just for him, but for many others who became victims of police brutality based on that suspected racial bias against black people, and maybe even other people of color as well in America. But since then, it spread to other countries as well, because in many other places, people had become victims of police brutality and hate crimes based on the color of their skin. Police brutality in a whole is something that people have been unhappy with, because these are the people who you're supposed to trust to keep you and your family safe. If something happens, who do you call? The police. And if you can't trust them, who else is there? Who else will come to your aid or de-escalate the situation or resolve the matter at hand or the situation? There are police officers and emergency hotline operators that have dealt with these incidents and situations in negligent ways or a negligent matter, which we have seen in recent cases. It's very troubling and not a good thing at all. Not to mention some police officers who have actually committed crimes or put unnecessary violence during arrests. They haven't faced the consequences of their actions in the way it should by law. They either just got fired or didn't really get anything at all. So of course people are unhappy. How can you trust in a justice system that isn't even working the way it's supposed to be working? The way it should work? And then you had people from other states come in to riot and loot the area just to fuck around a bit, you know? Try to use all the chaos for their own sick pleasure. And the protesters actually personally got rid of these people by handing them over to the police, because they were technically against their cause. But the fact that all of this had to happen before the officers were charged with the crime they committed is disturbing to me. I mean, they say these unions protect the cops, but shouldn't they actually hold their own accountable? Because, yeah, it's the people you've been in contact with, the people who are a part of your union. If you see they're out of line, you can at least try to discipline them, because this thing can be dangerous. The officer Derek Chauvin had so many complaints filed against him. And yet, only now, after the protests, he has been charged. And for some reason, one of the guys is free because somebody paid off his bail. I mean, it doesn't matter to me who did what in the past, or everybody keeps that I saw on social media, like some people kept talking about the fact that George Floyd had a record and stuff like that. I'm like, that doesn't matter in that moment that was caught on tape. He was being assaulted by an officer in a terrible way that eventually caused him to pass away. And how can you justify that? How can you justify a murder? It just begs the question, if somebody who was a murderer somewhere, nobody knew about this, became an officer, and he had a way with talking to people so they would trust him, but in the meantime, he would go off, or they would go off and do something questionable, and perhaps even murder people. And they could just make up a lie and have everybody else believe it. And nobody would do anything because they'd be swayed by his words, or they'd be befriended with him, and they themselves would be sitting in this conflict of, is this truly the person that I trusted, or they're gonna believe him, or something like that. Which begs the other question. I saw in a few articles that police officers in the US aren't trained at the same as long as other officers from other countries are. From some sources I heard it was 5 years or even less in the US, which is very problematic because you don't get the time to screen them, you don't get the time to actually see who you're dealing with, because an officer has to de-escalate situations. They have to work with people, and if you do not know how to work with people to actually keep a situation from escalating further, then what's the point? And I have seen good things come from these protests, a lot of good things. For instance, officers are now getting more in contact with the community, which is a really good thing, because you're building up that relationship with your community. People get to trust you, and you get to know them as well. So you know who to look out for, and if somebody is struggling with something, they can come to you and you can basically have a professional or somebody else called in. Because even though cops are trained to deal with this situation, they can't deal with everything. So the idea of defunding the police, I wasn't really a fan of that when it first came up, especially with the way some people react and how they're gonna take the news. They're not gonna take it in a good way. and they might actually go on strike, because if something happens, who do you call? The police. And if the police don't want to cooperate, you're basically stuck in that situation. Unless a neighbor or somebody you know can help you, but stuff could go wrong. Recently, the Black Lives Matter movement has stopped trending in social media. This is problematic because there are still some cases and incidents that still need to be brought to light and resolved, because they have either been overlooked or ignored. And this is not a good thing, especially for the families of these people and the situation going on. So with my video, I'm hoping to get a bit more attention for this movement, to get it trending again, and any way I can help, and to put some resources out there so people can learn for themselves about the situation, because not everybody knows about it and they would want to learn more. So go right ahead. It'll just help people understand each other more and what others are fighting for and fighting against. One of my favorite comedians of all time, Dave Chappelle, has a Netflix special called 846. I highly recommend you guys to watch that, because he explains the situation a lot better than I have at this moment. If you guys want to learn more, I suggest you guys check it out. He gives very good commentary on the situation. Statistics in the US show that more white people are a victim of police brutality compared to black people. That's because there are actually more white people than black people in the US. Black people are actually a minority, which means the whole issue is to solve police brutality against everyone. But however, black people are more likely, or people of color are more likely, to be profiled or to be the victim of police brutality. But based on suspected racial biases because of the US's history. Many say the US is a country built on racism. Even if there aren't any laws that dictate that a person of color or a black person, that they have to get like a different kind of treatment or anything like that, even though those rules aren't here today, or those laws, this was something that was set back in the time before the civil rights movement. And those ideas and that whole situation, the results still play on today. They still influence the way people think. And only now, since the civil rights movement, those ideas have actually become to fade. But however, due to social media and all of that stuff, people today are more racist. Because there are many reasons why, but I won't really go into that today or in this video. But people have their own reasons, and I personally think, this is my opinion, because of social media and the fact that they have been suppressing their actual feelings and ideas, and for some reason believing more into stereotypes that have been carried on through generations, and I've actually been listening to those ideas and keeping those views. I don't know what the actual issue is. I might be rambling on, but yeah, it doesn't really matter. But it's because I think we can't really talk about it. People are afraid to talk about it these days. And this is what stops other people from learning or getting to know why this happened or why that happened, because they're gonna hold on to their views because they can't express them. They can't talk about it. I'm not saying they should be cancelled or, for in some cases, deplatformed. I'm saying they should talk about this, but they should also face the consequences of their actions and actually get to learn, like, hey, this thing that I thought was wrong, it isn't like this. You know, and you only get that when people actually get to talk about it, or else they'll keep their prejudice and all of that to themselves, secret, and you won't really notice until you actually interact with this person. But you haven't even talked with that person yet. And you'll only start seeing their true colors come out through their actions and how they behave. Because actions speak louder than words. In my home country of Suriname, our history took a very different path compared to that of the US. But we still support the Black Lives Matter movement because we want to, in a way, help or spread this trend, this idea, to, in a way, to support people, to support the fight against racism, to support the fight against police brutality. Because we know when we're not going to be here anymore, well, we have our own issues here, of course, but when we go to other places, we're going to have to face similar situations to people who live in those other countries. We love seeing people come together and having fun, settling their differences, and accepting each other for their differences. There was a situation with two individuals here. They were cancelled and deplatformed. I'm not sure if they're still deplatformed, but they were basically, they got a lot of backlash for saying all lives matter. I'm not saying they're not allowed to get criticized for their views. I'm just saying the hate they got was, and the fact that they got cancelled or deplatformed, I found that unjust. And people kept saying get educated, but they didn't even say how to get educated or suggest stuff to them that they might want to look at to fully understand why these things are happening. I'm like, you're allowed to have your own opinion. For instance, I am for the Black Lives Matter movement because I stand with them and what they stand for, the fight against police brutality and racism. But if a different person like them say all lives matter, I'm not gonna cancel them. I'm just gonna say, alright, that's your view on the situation. I'm like, all lives do matter, but right now, Black Lives Matter, because it's better to take care of a situation one at a time, Right now, because of all the stuff that has been going on, I'm for the Black Lives Matter movement, and later we can look at the rest, because all lives won't matter until Black Lives Matter. But I won't bring you down because you have a different opinion. Because this is where the conflict starts. The moment you stop talking and just straight out say to another person, you can't talk anymore because you have a different view, that's basically how you get this disconnect, in a way. The other person won't listen to what you'll have to say. Like, I would have said, hey, you can check this stuff out, so if you want to know more and why I have this view. And I could listen to the other person to why they have the view they have. Because the moment we start policing each other and canceling each other and basically censoring their freedom of speech, we become like the people we were fighting against. In a way that other people say, we in a way become the oppressors. And you can't solve the situation by becoming the oppressor if you want equality. You'll just be feeding into that push and pull situation. You'll just be going to the other extreme. And that's the opposite of accepting people for who they are and helping other people's understand your situation and you to understand their situation. There are a few YouTubers who already talked about the situation. I'm going to name a few in case you guys want to watch their videos. They have gone more in depth and looked at the situation from a few different angles. It's not really anything new, but just in case you guys want to know more, and maybe through their videos you can find other people who have talked about the situation. To name a few YouTubers, Abba and Preach, Ray Show, Ask the Hodge Twins. To get a little bit of a different perspective from each. They have been making videos on this stuff for a while. There are more YouTubers, but this is just to give you some different perspectives. They're all speaking from their point of view. So it's just to give you like a perspective, because there's way more information out there. So yeah. I would also like to mention the film Friction by Ogechi Musa. It's about a community divided between non-violent and violent approaches to police brutality. I suggest you guys watch that. A friend of mine made the interview reel for that short film. I'll be linking stuff in the description below so you guys can check it out. I highly recommend it. It's interesting. It's from her point of view, and like how she made the film, how Ogechi made the film, and it's all her work, so yeah. My closing statement is keep learning, keep asking questions. The more we ask questions, the more we get to know. In this world, we have so much information out there, flooding everywhere basically, on social media, in our daily lives nowadays. But we still need to keep asking these questions, that we know where the answers will fit. Then we can start to see how things actually function, how things actually work in this world. The more we try to find answers, the more questions we ask, the more stuff we can put down on paper, the more research we do, the more we listen to each other, the more we get to see both sides of this perspective. You get to see different perspectives from different people, how they view the situation. It's not going to be the same as yours or somebody else's, It's going to be a whole new experience, and whether it's good or bad, we'll see how it plays out. But as long as we get the tools, as long as we have the knowledge, we can grow as people. There might never be peace because our world is like more of a push and pull situation going on. Like, if you try to fix a problem, another one will arise somewhere else. But that's kind of how our world works. But that doesn't mean that we can't keep working on finding a solution for that issue. We may never reach utopia, but the more we grow as people, the better it will benefit us and our world and environment in a whole. And hopefully we can live in a world where we accept each other for our differences and different opinions. And we accept and respect each other for that. And that we can call people out if they do something, or have them take responsibility for their actions. And if somebody made a mistake, we're not going to very harshly judge them for it, but tell them why we disagree, why we think it's wrong. And depending on the laws or context of the situation as well. So, what can you do to help the Black Lives Matter movement? In my description box, I actually linked my resources for people who want to learn more about the situation and why things are the way they are. And I also put links to places you can donate if you want to donate. And if you do not have money, I also linked some YouTube channels who are streaming videos, and if you watch those videos, the ad revenue from those videos basically gets sent to these organizations that are to help better the system and the lives of other people. And I also put in some petitions you can sign in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, because there are still some cases that have been unresolved and they're getting signatures to bring this stuff to light. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, subscribe, and share the video. This will really help me out and help me get to know more people and to talk with more people. I love exchanging words with others and talking about these topics with you guys. So this would really help me out. So first of all, thank you, and I'll see you guys next time. Alright, bye guys!